G'day viewers, we're in the class 101, we're at Carnforth it seems, and we're going to be going to Lancaster I think on the Morecambe branch. Now this does have a little bit of a flaw because there's no way to open the doors. Okay, it does have another little bit of a flaw which is a whopper for Raildriver users. While I just unlock the doors and we'll pop out and have a look at the outside of this beast. If you've got a Raildriver, it always goes backwards. So I've had to unplug my Raildriver so I can drive this, which is pretty annoying for those of us who have a Raildriver. For the rest of you, you won't care at all. Alright, let's jump in and set this thing up. Now there's a bit to do in this train, so it does take a little bit. First up, you want to turn the control circuit key to on. You're probably more familiar with that as the master key. I'm going to crouch down here. You can see there are two levers. There's a black one and there's a red one. So one's AWS and one is change ends. You need to set the change end lever on the end that you're going to drive from. I'm also going to turn on AWS because I want the automatic warning system, and I'm going to acknowledge that with the Q key. Circle will be on your controller, or you can press the button here. Alright. Hopping out of the chair again, we check the emergency brake is released. It is. The handbrake is released. It is. We can put our train lights on, and I think we're going to Lancaster. We are going to Lancaster. Look at that. So let's set this to Lancaster. Right, there's Lancaster set. And we also want to set our destination light on, and let's go down to the other end of the train and pretty much go to crouch mode, pretty much do the same thing. So we're going to race down here because we are in fact already late. We've used our 2 minutes up. Now let's put our destination light on. Let's check our markers are both red. They are. Brilliant. And let's set this to Lancaster. And check that that's released and that's released. They both are. Very good. Oops, not the window. We want the door. Come on, door. Door. There we go. Lovely. And we can see that we are set for Lancaster there. A quick run up the front. Make sure we're set for Lancaster on the front. There's not a chance you're ever doing all of this in 2 minutes. There we go. Lancaster. It's slightly showing leads, but you know, that's just British Rail. Can't make up its mind. Alright, let's shut the riffraff door and let's get ready to go. So we've got our brake over here. So we've got lap position and we've got apply to the left, release to the right. We've got our reverser position here. You can only move the reverser when your gearbox is in neutral. So I've just put it into the forwards position. There's also a reverse position. We will go into first gear. And I will start the brakes releasing by kicking that over into the lap position, and I'll just get some throttle on and a bit of horn going. And oops, we've got red lights on the front. We want to change both of those to red, to white rather. There's a panel light if you want it. You can't really see it during the day. We've got a green signal up there, that's fine. This switch just changes which of the two engines the RPM tachometer is actually reading. Now that our brakes are fully released, I always put this back into the lap position. Watching videos of driving the 101, I have seen both used, so you could leave it in release. To me, it just seems better if it's in lap because it's quicker to apply. So now we can throttle up. Just put this in a nice central spot, and then I will just use the cursor to do things. You can use the controller. Gears are a little awkward with the controller. You'll see that our rev's got all the way up to the top end there, and you throttle back. When you get to the left hand marker here, the down, you can change gears safely. Don't be in a hurry to change gears on these things because in reality you would just blow the thing up. And so we're back in second gear now. We are throttling up until we reach the up marker, which we just have. And now I will throttle back to idling. I'll wait for it to get past the down marker and I will change into third gear and then throttle back up again. Quite a few changes in this one visually, not much in the way of operationally, except that it no longer works with Raildriver. Well, it does work with Raildriver, it's just that it always goes backwards when you're using Raildriver, which is not helpful. Because it's quite a pleasure to drive this when you've got Raildriver, but without Raildriver it's actually a bit of a pain in the bottom. Alrighty, we have gotten into the up marker again, still nowhere near our speed, so throttle back to idle. When the tack gets down past the down marker, you can move into 4th gear and then throttle back on again as we cruise along towards Lancaster. We are going downhill. That's AWS letting us know the next signal is not adverse. So it's a green signal, which we can see. I should probably pop this thing on, shouldn't I? We continue cruising along, continue slowly accelerating. She's not a speed demon. Might eventually actually hit that 70 mile an hour if you're lucky, if we keep going downhill. Eventually. It is slowly creeping up, I guess. So let's hit 55. If you're going uphill, don't expect to do 70. You just won't. I don't need to show you how to reset from any kind of emergency braking on this one. Because it's... well, you just drive, pretty much. Release the brakes and drive. That's about it. Just like any other time. But I'll take you right through into Lancaster where I'll show you how to do the this end of the change-ins procedure. I can do the whole change-ins procedure, but I just won't shut the doors. As we drive through the countryside. Oh, look at that. We've gotten to 63 miles an hour. Can you handle the speed? Not a lot of passengers today. Probably knew it was me driving. I usually sit with, if I'm forced to use the controls with the mouse like I am today, or the controller, I tend to sit in the middle so I can reach all 3 of the major controls at the same time. When I'm doing it with Raildriver, I don't have to worry about that, but I can't drive this one with Raildriver, which is making me very sad, Just Trains. Very sad. And I imagine a lot of other people who have Raildriver, also very sad. Two miles to Lancaster, and we are doing maximum revs. So we probably aren't going to reach our 70 mile an hour. We almost got to about 67. There's a AWS indication for a double yellow. So to respond to that, I have acknowledged it. We will throttle back, and I will start applying some brake. And I've just put that into apply a little bit. We've let the vacuum get destroyed somewhat in here, and it's slowing us down. You can see that is going quite well, so you don't need a whopping amount of brake in this train. It's best to give it a little bit of brake and then sit in lap, like we are. General rule of thumb, you leave it in 4th gear when you're not powering. And now that we've come down to about 40 mile an hour, I'm actually going to release the brakes back again and go back into lap. Oops, I just applied them again a little bit then. I'm used to using Raildriver, it's a little easier. Come on, come back into lap. I've got the single yellow, acknowledge that. using the Q key or B or circle on your controller as per usual. 1.3 miles to Lancaster. We should have a platform by now in the track monitor, but I'm noticing that we do not. So I'm guessing there's a little bit of a fault there. Now we are starting to lose some speed, but we are also coming into a stop. But we've got a mile to go, so what we may even need to do is throttle up again. So let's just see how that goes. We'll give it a bit. We'll see if it gets above the down marker. If it doesn't, and it is, we're sitting in the bottom end of the acceptable rev range there. As we can see here, we're just sitting on the down marker. If it didn't get into that position, you'd need to change back into third gear, possibly even second. It's always one gear change at a time and then try it, and if it doesn't get there, if it's labouring, you need to bring it back again. So I don't really want to accelerate at this point, and our gradient is coming off, so I'm just going to throttle off again, because we are not terribly far out of Lancaster now. And this would appear to be a red signal. So I've just acknowledged that and done a maximum brake application. Oh, look at that. It's approach controlled. Okay. Well, there's a good way to learn that lesson. And release again. It releases nice and quickly, which is good. Bring her back round into the lap position again. Now, there's not a chance that we'll be able to get away with not accelerating here. So I'm going to come back up into second gear. Just judging by the speed we're at, 15 mile an hour, and power up. Now, I'm not so much interested in accelerating very much. I'm more interested in controlling my power at this point. Just making sure I don't lose too much speed on the way in there. And in fact, now that I've gotten her back up to 30 miles an hour, I'm going to go back into idle and back into fourth gear. And we're just going to coast the rest of the way in, and we'll be ready to brake over here. But we are supposed to be doing 20 through here. But that's alright. We'll just ignore that. That's fine. Not really. Got a slow application going on there. So she's a touch fiddly, but she's not hard. So, give her a chance. I quite enjoy... Oops, that's a bit of a big application. A bit more than I intended. I do quite enjoy driving this thing. I mean, the brake valve does work with the Xbox controller fairly well too. It does actually work quite nicely with the Xbox controller, I have to say. Let's give it these last few yards. I reckon my buffers are actually going to touch that if I go to the 3 yards, 2 yards. I reckon we're actually going to... Well, I reckon we would have touched that if we had stayed there. But anyway, let's unlock the doors, and now let's do a change ends. So we make sure our throttle is in idle. We bring our gearbox back into neutral, reverser to off, leave the driver's brake valve in lap, and we change our marker lights to red. Leave the destination indicator on because that's fine, and change ends lever to off. You should be able to leave the let's just continue with free roam. You should be able to leave the AWS lever unisolated, but I'm going to turn it off. Leave our train lights on, and let's just assume we're going back to Carnforth, shall we? I have no idea, but you know. Or is it Morecambe? Must be Morecambe, surely. Surely we came from Morecambe if we were going to Lancaster. There we go. Morecambe. And, oops, one more thing. Circuit control key off. Close that. Race up the other end. Because, of course, we're ready to go back the other way. back into this end, master key or control circuit key on, change end lever on, AWS on, in the chair, acknowledge, we'll set our marker lights to white and change this, and we're going to assume it's Morecambe. Alright, Morecambe, and we will change into forwards on here. We're still loading passengers, so there's no need to select a gear, but basically the rest of it is the same as the other end from now on. Alright, that's about all I have to show you in this tutorial for the Little Class 101 diesel multiple unit. So if you've got any questions, chuck them down below. If you want to support me in getting Just Trains to fix the Raildriver implementation, chuck that down below too, because the more people that complain about that, the more likely it is to get fixed. And make sure you jump onto DTG's forums and complain about it in the feedback thread, please. Alrighty, have fun folks, enjoy yourselves, and we will see you later.
We played a game.